so forth. We had different committees. And one which I could work on very easily was the play reading committee. And what we did was we had a small committee that would read all the plays, and if there was a no, we'd pass them on. If there were 2 no's, we discarded the whole play. And we were trying to come up to the board with the next year's season. So we were always working and reading. And when we got a yes, then we'd pass it on. Well, I was a homebody, I didn't drive at the time, and Richard was in charge of the play reading group. So Richard would come over and pick up the scripts I had read and give me the scripts and so forth. And so one Saturday morning, I was having breakfast and my husband was sitting there and the children were there, and the doorbell rang. And little Robert said, he was 3 years old at the time, and he said, "I'll get it." So here's what happened. You want to go on?
If I remember correctly. So he said, "Oh, it's the man that comes over when you're not here, Dad." I was working the second shift at the Hawthorne Works. Talk about past history. So that worked for me. She was home and I was available, so I go over there. So yeah, I was the guy that was there.
What did it say? You remember me, little man, don't you? That's what he said.
And when Bert died, I eulogized him down in Arkansas, and I mentioned that. And of course, I talked to Joyce before I eulogized before the event. She said, "You really think you should mention that?" Yeah. I think that, yeah, Bert would have loved it. I don't know if Joyce loved it or not. Okay. All right. Anybody else like to come up and share their thoughts?
Hello. So Mercedes had asked if, in my capacity as a former chairman of the Village Players, if I would, say a few words about my experiences as chairman. And I will say very little about my experiences as chairman, but then I just have, something else broader to say about my experiences as a Village Player. I was chairman. I ran to be chairman the year after we built this building, and as we moved into this building, Gwen Goach and I had put together a subscription campaign, and that was instrumental in building our audiences. And we had a very good hook at that time, which was brand new theater going up on Madison Street. So we were able to hype that, and that brought in, we had a bumper crop of patrons. At our highest, I ran the subscriptions for about 8 or 9 years, and at our highest, we had over 2,000 subscribers. For a 5-week, we ran our plays for 5 weeks, and that, so that's what we had at our high point. But I ran because I wanted to make sure we could, we'd gotten the building built, and I wanted to make sure we could at least keep it running for a while. So I managed to keep it running for a year, whatever. From that experience, after that, other people came forward and were present as chairman of the board. Gwen and I, and then myself, continued doing subscriptions, and we ran well for quite a while, and then you guys know the whole saga. Hard times. I think the quality of our plays declined a little bit at times. People, disruptions, the whole thing. So I'm very glad that it's back on an upswing now, and that the organization still exists, and that this building that we all put so much blood, sweat, and tears into still exists. Couple thoughts on being a Village Player. It's funny, I hadn't heard those stories, Joyce and Janet, I'm sorry, about the actual startup of Village Players. So in 1961, when this all started up, I was still in high school and had a teen club experience with theater, But back in those days, for any of you guys who are my age, I went to a Catholic girls' high school, and you didn't get to choose what you did. The nuns told you what classes you were taking, and you followed that route. And so I was on a science trajectory, and I went to college and was in sciences and everything, and had nothing to do with theater other than to see things once in a while. And so when I got home after school, and I'm med tech training, and I'm working at a hospital lab, I had time on my hands now, finally, for the first time in my life. And I lived in Forest Park, and there was a theater group called Act 4. And it worked, it was kind of a parish variety program. We did variety shows in the school, and called Way Off Broadway with Bob Wright. Some of you will remember Bob Wright. And Richard and Laverne Murphy were parishioners at St. Bernardine's, and so they were in the group as well. And they said, you should go over to Village Players. Well, to any of us in Act 4, Village Players was like Broadway. This was the big time. This, for Act 4, if you wanted to be in a show, you went and you were in the show. So they would find something for you to do. It didn't matter if you could sing, if you could dance, you could walk, you could talk, whatever. You could be in the show. They were fun shows, and they were good fundraisers for the parish. I'm not trying to put them down, but Village Players was real theater. And so I finally got the courage to come and audition. And I sat next to Marty Stempney at the auditions for Company. So it's amazing that I managed to stay, because he was cracking wise the whole time. Terrifying experience, whatever, but I got my foot in the door. And little did I know that that would be such a wonderful experience in my life. Because from Village Players, what I got was three very important things. I got a love of theater that I didn't know I had, as a performer and as a designer. You could major in theater in college when I was in school, but it wasn't anything that I even knew about. So that had not been an option to me. So this was a place where I learned how to act, how to design, how to run a theater, how to do box office, all that fun stuff that I'd really rather not do, but it has to be done because someone's got to empty the garbage cans, right? But this is where I learned that. I learned it from people like Larry Baldacci, Joe Sadowski, a host of other people who taught me about theater and about being an actor. I've gone on to perform and work in lots of other places and learn from other people as well, but that's where it all started. The second thing I got from Village Players was a whole new career, because shortly after I'd been here, I was involved in some production, and they said, well, we need someone to design costumes. Can anybody sew? I can sew. So I became a designer, and along the way, I knew how to sew, but I didn't know how to design. But along the way, I learned how to design. And through connections with Village Players, you guys remember Joanne Witzkowski-Kalick? Yeah. Okay, she and I did the costumes for 1776. And then Joanne went on to get her master's and recommended me to work on a show at Candlelight. Long story short, I got introduced to the head of design at Columbia College, and I've been at Columbia College working in the costume shop for 25 years. So I have a career in acting that I've been able to pursue, and I've got a career in designing that I've been able to pursue, and I've been nominated for a couple awards along the way, so, and I've gotten good reviews, so apparently it's working.
And you've won some awards.
I've won some awards. Anyway.
Acting and design.
Yes, thank you. This is my husband, John. This is John Allen Roeder, who is sitting in the John J. Roeder Memorial Seat, which was one of our fundraising ideas at some place. Sell a seat, endow a seat. So we have that one there. Well, that's number 3. That's the third thing that I got from Village Players. Joanne and I were doing the costumes for 1776, and so of course, with any show at Village Players, us young unmarried women were scoping out who's available. And there were 2 single, straight guys in the cast.
That's not true. I knew a couple others.
And John was one. Well, single and available, I should say. Single and unattached. And John was one of them. And that was almost 40 years ago. So Village Players has always been a big part of my life, and still is.
Bravo.